Hello, everybody. This is William del Pilar, and this is the Red, White, and Rude, where politics and culture collide. And I say this every week, but it's so true. As the legendary, I don't know if he was legendary, the once great, I don't know if he was great, but he was a good dude. Andrew Breitbart once said, politics is downstream of culture. And what does that mean? Well, it means that what happens in this country eventually trickles down into politics, and that means it becomes policy in some form or fashion. We've got a great show for you tonight. We are going to revisit my podcast last week where I went into an extremely deep dive into the world of gaming and specifically gaming journalism. We covered Gamersgate. We covered today's influencers versus today's magazines. And that was done very in depth. Well, today I've got a great guest who is actually on the other side of what I usually talk about. I view the influencers as the future, but this guest, his name is Hodey Johns, and he actually writes. Good dude. He is actually a little plug here, the co-host to our libertarian podcast, Free for All, with my partner, Big John. So we're going to talk about that. Then we're going to do a semi-deep dive, not too deep, but into Avowed. Not necessarily about the game itself, but all the issues surrounding itself. Avowed, we don't know quite yet, but it seems to be struggling based off some of the Steam numbers. And it could be a massive flop for Obsidian, the studio Obsidian, who created Vegas, or oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. Fallout, one of my favorite games, drew a blank there. Fallout New Vegas. It's a legendary game, and Obsidian's been writing that since the turn of the century, literally. But they were bought out by Microsoft, and there's accusations it's gone woke. We're going to take two different looks at that. We're going to take the look at from the perspective of the game itself, and then what their dev team has been doing that has created this perception it's a woke company. And then we're going to round it out with the Rude Rundown, where Hodey and I are going to tackle, this week is about 5 topics, including an update on Captain America, Brave New World. Remember last week I talked about it and said, great opening, but does it have the legs? We have your answer. And with that, I want to welcome you, my guest, Mr. Hodey Johns, to the table here. Yeah. Oh, and I love that background, Hodey. First of all, before you tell us about yourself, tell us about that background there. Looks like DC Comics, Halo. Oh, it has everything in there.
Sure, it's just a video game background. Somebody did the image, and I remember looking it up, and when they shared it, they were like, "Hey, it's cool to use it as your background, guys." And so I was like, oh, this is neat. It's got a bunch of my favorite video game characters on the back there. We see my lookalike over here, the Hitman, Agent 47. Yeah. You know what I mean? We got a Tracer flipping through the air, Spider-Man, Pikachu. I love video games. Obviously, it's my line of work. So when I saw an image like this with so many different crossovers, so many little references, if you look in the background there, got Shell over here.
Who's the characters doing the selfie there to your right?
Sure. You've got Lara Croft, you've got Nathan Drake, and then I believe that is Abby from The Last of Us they're trying to do there. The Last of Us 2.
I've never played. Okay, I've never played that one. But and you know what? I've never played the other one. What was it again? Nathan Drake. What's that series called?
Uncharted.
Yeah. I thought the movie was okay with Marky Mark there, but and I thought the little YouTube snippet done by the guy who was in Castle and is on The Rookie, Nathan Fillion. That was cute. That wasn't cute. It was just well done. I don't know if you're aware of this. Nathan Fillion for years wanted to play Nathan Drake. You know?
Really?
Yes, that's why he did the short. If you go to YouTube, it's got millions and millions of views.
Okay.
Check that out, though. It's pretty good. I see Lex Luthor there. My eyes are going bad. I see like a banana or something in the background to your right there. I don't know what that is.
I think the Lex Luthor lookalike is Agent 47. That's right. That's Hitman.
I'm sorry, you just said
you're okay. You're okay. Yeah. You got the Joker back there. You got John Marston shooting a shot over here.
Obviously, the Halo snake. snake.
Honestly, if I wrote it, there's actually more to this image. I had to crop it down, so
wow.
the actual image is actually larger over there. But yeah, I'm the longer you look at it, the more stuff you point out. I got a bunch behind me here. Well, and some
There
laundry.
you go. I may have to check that out. I may have to steal that. I can't use that because I got poofy hair. And Big John, who's also our producer, said you can't use a background because
that must be a suffer. That must be a struggle right there, having hair. Right? I'm a guy for a reason.
One quick question.
Yeah.
I stopped playing the oh my god, I'm trying to the agent games after in Xbox 360. The last one I played was the second version, and I didn't finish it because it got a little repetitive, and I was doing the business. But I always enjoy the concept. I actually enjoyed both movies. They weren't like blowing me away. I'm like, okay, good enough. It's changed the format, the storylines, the way they do it. Is it worth picking up, taking another look at?
So the Hitman games, if you are, as nicely as I can put it, if you are on the spectrum, you will love them. It's doing the same thing in many different ways. And there is learning to master the different ways is kind of what it's all about. And so the people who play it will be like, I know a person is going to turn around this corner at exactly 30 seconds into this mission. And, you know, and I'll admit I'm one of those people. I got all the achievements. They're still doing updates on the latest one, the World of Assassination. They kind of combined the three installments they did into one World of Assassination. It is on my top 10 games list of all time. This is very personal to me, and one of the things that I'm sure we're going to get into is, man, more than anything else, video games are tailored to individuals, to people. It's very hard to make a great game that caters to a lot of people. And I just think that it's one where it's like it's a 10 out of 10 if you are like a sandbox person, if you love being rewarded for mastering, doing one thing. It's one of those that's just I can't recommend enough. But there are some people who are going to pick it up once and being like, so what, I just like shoot this guy, but a bunch of people got mad. This is complicated. I don't want to do this, right? Like, and it's going to be a 0 out of 10 for them. So whenever we have to do like ratings over at Game Rant, it's so complicated because I'm like, if you're the right person, this is absolutely a 9 or a 10 out of 10 game. If you're the wrong person, this is a nightmare. Yeah,
You're right.
Yeah.
People forget, Hodey, when movies were created and then they went into mass all over the nation, it was for one reason: to entertain people who were suffering during the Depression.
Yeah.
When I feel blessed. I was the old generation, with a parent at 5 o'clock. Well, hey, it's dinner time, and you come in. And the reason I say that is because I've seen gaming start from its get-go. From the Commodore, the Amiga computers, those, because it goes farther back than Atari, than in television. So I have seen it evolve. But people forget gaming was the same way. It was there to entertain you. But then as things evolve, critics start to put their stamp on what they see as proper gaming. And I think that ends up being problems. And with that, let's get into what I'm talking about. So politics. Last week, the whole basis of my show was Hafer, Liana Hafer. I think Glenn is the name, a transgender who transitioned, very political.
Are you talking Lena?
Huh?
Lena from Gamergate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Lena, he's just an individual who came out, writes for IGN and PC Gamer, came out and said, if you have a map and you have the Gulf of America there, my review got you 1 point immediately. And I'm like, it's out in the open. This is why, to me, this is your example of why gaming magazine reviews are dying. And for the audience, I used to run an internet company. It was in the top 2,000 most visited sites in the world at the time. I know how the advertising. I've done 6-figure deals. When you become dependent on that changes everything when you're a gaming magazine, especially in doing reviews. If Ubisoft's marketing a company they work through gives you, and I'm speculating the numbers here, but gives you, say, a $100,000 contract for 3 to 5 months of advertising, there's an understood wink, wink once the reviews come out. I'm not saying that's always the case, but that is there. And I think the audience has picked up on that. Wow, they give this game a 7 out of 10 and it plays like a 3 out of 10. They gave this game a 9 out of 10 and it's more like a 6 or 7. And I'm not saying that's good or bad, Hodey. I'm saying that's how the world kind of works. In my industry, struggling out of my garage, I got $100,000 contract from a gambling company. This was before, this was when the internet was still new. My first thought was, okay, what do I need to do to get this contract? Because that's the power of the dollar. So that's what kind of got that whole article. I ended up going into the deep dive of Gamergate, sleeping for good reviews with the casting couch in essence in the gaming world. And that started, and then it devolved into misogyny. Men are this. White men are this. So, and I went into the deep dive. But my whole point to you to get this going is you're a writer in the space.
Yeah.
And hearing what Heifer said, if any game has a map and it has a Gulf of America there, you're immediately docked 1 point. Is this activism and reviews a trend, or do you think it's just one loud voice? And my take, the reason I ask is, to me, it can't. Heifer just exposed what they've always done in terms of politics today since the turn of the century.
Sure. Well, politics is taking over culture. We all know this. I mean, politics we like to think of as downstream from culture, but as culturally we overturn more of our power to politicians, we look to other events. We look to them to dictate our culture to us, and so that means culture and politics are almost so tied up that it's difficult to talk about one without the other, especially when we talk about story and narrative driven games. It's almost impossible to say, like, well, does this have a political motivation? Well, whereas 20 years ago we might have just been like, no, you're fighting a king. Right now there is actually a woke detector list for our games, and it will ping if you're fighting against the king, you get docked for anti-imperialism. You know what I mean? That's like, oh, that's claiming to be against the king, and so unfortunately that gets docked as woke. And this is something that we are experiencing in this kind of new world now, right? Like, the thing is, for her audience,
you said a woke detector. What's a woke detector? You said there's a woke detector. Is that something just metaphorically, or is there something actually out there?
No, it's actually called a woke content detector. It's a group page. They have it. You can find them on Steam. They're on. They translate all their stuff to Reddit as well. It's a big group. Right, it's huge. I mean, just recently,
I know Smash JT has one on his site, and there's a few others out there. Okay, I apologize. I just want to make sure that okay.
Yeah, you're good. And so, like, the thing is I have no doubt that for their audience, and this is why I think it's good that reviews are becoming more individualized, because you don't want to find just anybody reviewing anything. You want to find somebody who thinks like you do to review your game. Right? Like, I don't want to trust just anybody. If I look at a restaurant review and I dislike sushi, well, I don't care if they say it's 5 out of 5. All sushi is 0 out of 5 for me, right? Like, even good sushi is, in fact, good sushi may even make it worse, right? Because it's more fishy, right? Like, and I'm just like, oh, this is terrible, right? And so what I want to do is I find somebody with my tastes. So what people did is they went from their Kotakus and their Polygons and their, these big companies, and they said, what we need to do is I need to find a gamer or YouTuber that thinks like I do. Great example, Dragon Age the Veilguard, which I know we talked about. That's either a 10 out of 10 or a 0 out of 10 game, depending on the type of gamer you are. And I saw two different channels, both of whom I actually trust. Like, SkillUp said it was his worst game of the year, and Mortismal, who put it as his best game of the year. And the thing is I totally get it for both of their audiences. And they did the right thing by rating it what they thought it actually was, and so what we want to do is find somebody that vibes with us to give us these ratings and reviews. So I have no doubt that if you're an IGN reviewer and you're listening to Liana, that her review, yeah, if you see Gulf America, you roll your eyes. You say, I can't stand this anymore, right? Similarly, like conversely, we have the woke detectors, which is like, hey, there's a female soldier who fights on the front line in this game. You are not, and for some people, that knocks them out of the experience. We had the heels versus babyface incident where, like, he was sitting down to play Starfield and they asked him for his pronouns of his main character. And he just has this colossal meltdown on the stream. And you know what? He doesn't want a game where he's asked that. And that's fair for him to go seek a game that's for that, and for him to let his audience know that he can't enjoy a game that asks for any pronouns, right? And so if that's something that disrupts you, it's appropriate for you to let people know, hey, I got to dock points for this because I hate this, right? Now, maybe not everybody hates it. I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak for people of certain tastes. And so this is kind of how the review system works, or good review system works. Now, obviously, we have it broken in many cases, but that's at least it is its healthiest. There's 100 different reviews out there. They're all over the map, and they represent a spectrum of tastes, right? I don't want a restaurant. If everybody just says 5 out of 5, 5 out of 5, 5 out of 5, that's Applebee's, right? I want something that is like 5 out of 5 for me personally, right?
So, what I'm hearing is that you're okay with activism in games.
I want more of it. I want everybody to be. I want the conservative activism in their games, and I want liberal activism in their games. And
I'm talking within the games themselves. Aren't games supposed to entertain? See, here's my issue. The bottom line for any company to keep its people employed, to allow those people to be able to feed their families, is to do their jobs. Games are supposed to engross you in a different world, to entertain you, to make it fun. And I look at movies the same way, television the same way. When you start becoming activists in there, I'm like, that's not why I'm doing this. I want to escape all that. And my key reason, not my key reason, one reason for this is you're going to destroy your company. The left purposely canceled people through sheer hate. The right has started to learn that. And when the right starts to learn, they can be as bad, if not worse. And that's what we're seeing in the gaming industry. We're seeing games that may be entertaining, but because they put a transgender quest, which I disagree with, not because I don't care for transgenders. I'm like, that's a parents need to sit there and educate their 8, 10, 12-year-old playing the game, not EA Sports. That's not their job. And they know how powerful these games are, and they've hijacked the gaming. And the gaming studios go along for survival. From 2000 to about just now, recently, the last few years, you either went along or they would cancel you. And people say, no, that's not true. Really? Look at history. Look at World War II, Volkswagen, and a bunch of other companies that still exist today. They were all pro-Nazi, not because they were pro-Nazi, because they wanted to live to see the next day. So they tend to be cyclical. And my take is when you get active, when activism goes into a game you just want to enjoy, you risk everything. And we're seeing that, for example, with Ubisoft. If Assassin's Creed Shadows is not the mega hit, I don't think they're going to go under. But there's rumors that they may be forced to sell because it's one of nearly half a dozen flops that have come under the woke category. So I try to look at the bigger picture. I get what you're saying, what you're doing, but my other problem is y'all push all this stuff. Then I look, your studios are all white men, and then I want to teach you to eventually replace me. All you woke guys, you're not talking about replacing yourselves, but everybody else, So I see so many issues with this. What's the matter with just having a game that entertains?
There's nothing wrong with that. And we have many of those, right? Like we have a bunch. If you just want to, and I love these games, dumb Tetris-like experience, right? Like you mentioned, EA Sports, right? Like I just want to play football and be an idiot. You know what I mean? There's a lot of great sports for you. And the nice part is if you like, for example, MLB The Show allows you to play as a female. And if you don't like even the tolerance of being allowed to play as a female, hey, you are not alone. And there's a bunch of gamers out there that were like, let's make or a bunch of studios out there that were like, let's make a different baseball game because this one is now on our woke list. And so they will. And so like, And so
That's
there's something meant for all of it. The thing is from the very beginning, we like to say it's not political. But even if we go back to like Doom, right? You're killing demons. That's certainly making a statement, right? There's certainly religious quandaries to be had. It's not like we were devoid of politics when Doom came out, right? Remember all the Christian parents and the blood and guts and all the conservative anchors who were saying this is going to be the thing that inspires violence? Yeah.
That's mainstream. That's how our country was raised: good versus evil. Per the Bible, you have demons. So you're not going against you're right in what you're saying, but that goes along with our religious history of our country, and that's because of Doom storyline. And most people did not get that. They were just playing Doom. That was around my era. And then when I was going to college, Doom and Wolfenstein, it wasn't about the storyline because there really wasn't no storyline. It was about killing monsters. But then as Doom evolved, the gaming industry evolved in terms of how games look today versus back then. We got that great storyline that the Marine is Sue, and then he's whacking this a portal to hell for the audience who may not know Doom. Doom is a portal to hell has been opened up in essence. And one of the first big iteration on the Xbox Mini was one of the scariest games to play. But that said, I wanted to talk about, not talk about, but here's the thing about our politics today. I believe the media and Democrats paint conservatives as extremely far right. 90% of conservatives don't care. Oh, okay, you can play he, she, it, whatever as an option. Some gamers in the dev said, no, we're going to make it mandatory now. It's like I think you get victims. What happens to mindset? People dig in their trenches and goes bleep you then. And that, to me, that's what happened to Dragon Age Veilguard. People, they didn't care about the storyline, the main quest, the graphics. It looked like a beautiful game, Now there were issues with the mechanics in terms of the choice selection. I think a lot of critics said they were lazy. They didn't maximize. It didn't evolve from the last one. But as far as the storylines, that transgender storyline was a minor quest that was optional, if I remember or not. But we got so entrenched, and then one of the diary things turned out to be pretty woke, and that's where the subliminal. See, I understand subliminal messaging. Being born and raised in a third country, seeing it firsthand. I saw that work for Noriega, where Americans were the Panamanian people loved Americans, but I saw it devolve with the subliminal marketing that Noriega used to the Panamanians hated Americans, and they did it once you started talking to them, or they actually met an American. But the big gist. So, and I think that's where we're at. And to me, it's like, okay, you can have both worlds, but make it an option. Make it to where a parent could lock that out or talk to their kid. No, don't do it. Because I think we're purposely taking the education of life away from our parents. And this is partly the parents' fault because we live in a dual income world. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but once women enter the workforce, parenting really dropped quite a bit because the importance of that woman at home with her kids when the kids came home from school. My life changed when we moved to the States. My mom was home every day. We moved to the States. She started working. It was a different. Mom wasn't there. We were on our own after school. And I think gaming has filled this void. Public school has filled this void with all the after-school programs, which are indoctrination systems disguised. So where do you land on that in my long-winded way here on why not just make it options versus starting to make some of this stuff mandatory and you can have the best of both worlds?
Sure. So that's a lot of extra work. As you noted, they didn't, there weren't as many choices in this Dragon Age game as some of the others. And that was kind of a lot of the issue that I had with Veilguard. I enjoyed the game a lot. As far as like optionally having Tosh be not or binary as opposed to non-binary.
No. I'm talking about the option of like that quest has nothing to do with the main storyline. You can do it if you're a pro-transgender or you love this or that, or you can just skip it. Stuff like that.
Sure. So then when we're offering people to skip stuff, we're making a political statement still, right? We're saying this is skippable. You don't have to deal with this. Dragon Age has always been something that wants you to deal with it. They've had a transgender person in Dragon Age Inquisition. That one won, Game of the Year, obviously.
I haven't finished it, but I played it. And it's very
cool.
One of the first things I played where you had choices outside of Zork.
Sure. How far are you in Veilguard?
Oh, Veilguard, no. I don't have time to play. That's why I don't
Okay.
talk about the games themselves. I talk about the culture issues of the games,
Yeah.
and I talk about what the sides are saying. And what I do is I'll compile reviews. Well, this side is saying this side is saying this. I look at it from a culture as an outsider, how all this is shaping our country. I play, Hodey, gamers are going to laugh. I have a 400 game library of games that I haven't played, a third of them AAA games.
You are with every other gamer out there. You're good.
I have played predominantly one game 90% of the time, and that is State of Decay 2. I'm addicted to that game. I tell my wife, like, what's the big deal? I don't know, babe. I can run the same mission, but it's not linear. I can do it however I want, and I can die. Then my character dies. That's the one game I play. But I am entrenched in the gaming world because I grew up at the forefront of gaming. I remember being in the military, Hodey, at lunchtime, me and about 4 or 5 other guys. The guy would pop in the Zork big floppy CD, and we'd start, there is a White House in front of you, so my gaming goes back. So it's fascinating. And the reason I'm so interested, and I tell this to people, we always look at public schools as indoctrinating. I'm like, games are doing is even worse because they have greater power because kids aren't listening to anybody. They're engrossed in a game while you're cooking dinner, mom. They're not outside playing. They're getting fat. We have an obese system. So I view gaming as a culprit. It's become the parents' babysitter and has destroyed our children from the perspective of them living in the real world. Hodey, everything is down. Baseball leagues, softball leagues, extracurricular events. What's up? The Game Boy, the Nintendos, all that. So we're becoming, I truly believe in my heart, 100 years from now, the Matrix will become real in the sense we'll have the option of living in a little type of shell and engrossing our whole lives within that world, And I think that's what the globalists, if you believe in globalism, that's what they want because they control the masses then. Now, I'm being extreme. It's not going to be like the Matrix, but the concept of being able to put on your headset and be in there for 8, 10, 12 hours. So to answer your question, I played one game that I love to death. That's State of Decay 2.
Sure. And so for me, there's just games for everybody, and thankfully there's a lot of games about fighting the system. There's a lot of independent games. There's a lot of games that are outside the mainstream. Some of my favorite games are made by Supergiant, and boy, Helldivers 3 knocked it out of the park last year, right? 3rd highest selling game in the United States. Small team, low expectations. I immediately had to find someplace they could buy more server space for because it was so much fun. I still play it.
That was attacked by the woke side, and let me get your thoughts on this real quick because it's happening in Hollywood too. We love to see beautiful people. That's just how it's innate. It's built in us. It's biologically, certain men love the big hips, or certainly genetically we're driven a certain way. It's like, and I kind of believe this. I was always indifferent until I'm, and I am still a bit indifferent. But there's a big issue with that in the gaming world is what happened to the beautiful female character. And I'm not talking about the heroine stripped down to her superhero costume's literally a bikini. I'm just talking about just a pretty girl. And I saw Star Wars Outlaw, and then I saw the actress who portrayed her, and then I saw what they drew. I'm like, damn, they ugly-fied her. So it seems like we're having these cultural battles everywhere. Your quick thoughts on the look of games in terms of how they portray humans, and then I want to get your thoughts on the gaming magazine versus the influencers.
Yeah, to me, it's real simple. There are unmet needs when it comes to beauty. So when we have something like Playboy, right, taking over the nation forever, listen, skinny, hot blondes with boob jobs are not going anywhere, right? Like those have been there. Those are still here. Those who picked up Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, listen, there are other people that were more famous, but there were still many. And in fact, front cover even this last time, skinny, hot, typical blondes, right? With boob jobs. You know, it's still very much that's still something that is a need being met. What we're seeing with video games, especially, because that's tailored to certain groups of gamers, right? Video games are so much different than movies or with chain restaurants because they get smaller populations, right? But they really want to cater to the people that they're catering to. And so what they say is, what are these people not seeing? So you're seeing a rise in women with shaved heads because there's a certain amount of people who think that's beautiful, and though their needs aren't being met, right? So we are absolutely adding what you might see uglification, I see as beauty, right? Like, and different ways. And so I see, like, man, look at all these gamers. You still got your choice of hot women, right? Like, you still got your horizons, right? No shortage of those. But if you were out there and you're just being like, man, I wish, you know, something I saw, there was a game recently with somebody who had some acne scarring on their cheeks. And I was just like, man, I wish I had more familiarity with this, because
that was Star Wars Outlaw.
They were kind of beautiful, you know?
Star Wars Outlaw. She's an actress. She was, and she played it. No, I get what you're saying. Yeah. But they're purposely uglifying some women. The actress who played the lead in Star Wars Outlaw was a beautiful girl, and they uglified her. But I get what you're saying, and I've had an issue with that too. I grew up loving curvy women. But I grew up in the era of the skinny blonde, no butt, or fake boobs, and I found that unattractive. I did a paper on this in college. Hollywood has pushed all of this, and not just Hollywood, but the commercials and all the magazines. They push a certain look, and generations gravitate. My friend said, "Man, I love that girl." I'm like, "Dude, she's like a 12-year-old." It's like that's what pedophiles like, you know. But that's what they were pushing in America: skinny blonde, big boobs, and that's not natural in human nature. So they get the fake boobs. So you're right. But I'm not referring to that. I'm referring to the actual. What I'm trying to say is, well, you hired a beautiful actress, then you uglified her. I'm like, why not just use the actress's beautiful face? Because you're doing a disservice to the average-looking women. Hire somebody who looks average-looking then and put her face on there. And I'm being a little bit facetious here, but I'll push back, and I get what you're saying. I agree with it, but that's not the case here. They're purposely uglifying it. Plus, the audience they're trying to escape. The male wants to be the hero that goes save the beautiful damsel. I think one reason Concord completely tanked it for the audience, Concord was a $400 million failure by Sony, I believe, that was going to try to compete with Fortnite, that type. It lasted 8 years of production, people. It lasted 2 weeks before they pulled the game and refunded everybody who had actually. And I saw those characters, and they were pushing a woke agenda. And I'm like, you risk $400 million. And you let your studio get hijacked by Activism, and so you wouldn't get canceled, Sony. You allowed a $400 million failure to happen. So my take is, yes, give the audience what they want, but make it optional, and you can have the best of both worlds. And then we can decide instead of being forced down. Because you know what, Hodey, when I grew up, I always shut up. Oh, that chick's hot. And I'm like, yeah, she's hot. As I'm looking at the curvy Latino or the curvy black chick, you know, versus the skinny white chick. And I'm stereotyping a bit. But when I was growing up, that's kind of how it played out. I grew up in a military town when we moved to the States. And I tell people the greatest countries, the greatest cities in this world are military towns because you're diverse. Your school, our school of 400 in my graduating class, it's not literally a third, but that's how deep the mix was. There was no segregation there because the military doesn't segregate. And you move into neighborhoods not by culture, but by your class of rank. So all the enlisted would live in certain areas, the officers, and it became so diversified. And that really drove me up a wall. And that's why I did the paper once I got to college, because I wanted to know what the answer was. And the answer was ugly. It was your stereotypical men driving this look. But then when I got deeper in my research, I realized, well, women are now running studios, running to do this, and they're doing the same thing, you know? So it's a human nature aspect. But anyway, I'm digressing a bit. Hodey, I want to get you to know about gamers versus influencers.
Yeah.
I'm sure I don't know how old you were when G4 reigned supreme and X-Play reigned supreme. That and the magazines, you go to GameStop, they owned a magazine and they would give it to you. They Game Informer, I believe. You get it free because they were trying to get as many out there for the advertising. Again, that marriage to the advertisers and the eyeballs. And but then when the internet became everyday use with YouTube, everything changed. XPlay died. That whole network actually died and went under because I believe of the YouTube influencers. You are a writer for a magazine. How, when you look at these YouTube influencers, I kind of want to put you on the spot only because I want an honest answer. When you see these YouTube influencers versus your industry, which many claim, and I would agree, is dying, and those are self-made cuts by 1,000 paper cuts. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I am happy to work for a company that does things the right way. We have actually expanded. We've added additional branches. We've got a sports branch now, and we're looking at doing other things. We have a mom's branch even. Right? Valnet is the umbrella company that I'm working for, and they're doing more and more things.
That sounds nice. How many of those people are full-time writers, full-time workers in that system?
Yeah, we're growing. It's really cool. We were at when I first joined, I think there was 80 full-timers, and now it's something like 360 or something. It's growing. So we've got a good amount of writers. And we are expanding. We are one of the few, though. I would say I think there's a reason, and I think it's a good thing that the influencers are there, if nothing less than to keep us in check. But honestly, I think that a lot of people are better served by getting an individual that thinks a lot like them to review their games for the same reasons I led off when we were talking about reviews at the beginning. A 1 out of 10 game is going to be a 1 out of 10 game for this person, 10 out of 10 game for this person. If I have a trans friend who's going through, or a non-binary friend who's going through high school, or even just an LGBTQ friend who is feeling really bullied and scared right now, and they don't feel like a hero, Veilguard's an awesome game for them, right? Tosh is somebody they're really going to relate to. It's a really healthy, happy thing for them to play, versus if I am somebody who, if I even hear about a non-binary person and I'm just going to have a meltdown, I cannot play that game. And I need to follow somebody who's going to give that appropriately a 0 out of 10, right? Because I can't touch that game. That's going to trigger me, and I don't want to snowflake out over a game, right? I want, as you said, people play games to have entertainment, right? We want to have fun, so we want to find the reviewers that agree with us,
But see, to me, that takes away from the business of business. At the end of the day, Dragon Age Veilguard caused people to get fired, not fired, but let go. Didn't make the money. And they lied. I mean, as a business guy, I saw immediately, they're lying here. This is a AAA game. 1 million units sounds great, but no, that's not going to cut it, because I go into the numbers. In fact, I do heavy pieces, and I track down the numbers. I do a lot of research. Thank God for AI, even though I have to double and triple check it. It speeds up some of that research. And I immediately saw this game's going to tank. It's like Brave New World, Captain America. We're going to talk about that briefly down the road here. I crunched the numbers last week. I'm like, I don't know, despite the great first weekend it had. I guess we're going to disagree on this, because you're okay with activism. I'm okay with optional activism. But at the end of the day, the company has a fiduciary responsibility, and that's to make a profit, to stay in business. And this is where the activists don't get it. They stay in business. You keep your job. You can continue your activism. They don't do well.
I actually agree with you on this, William. I mean, it's important to flesh this out. This was the failure of Dragon Age Veilguard. They made a game that was top tier for a small chunk of people. And what EA did for their callers and their investors was say, hey, listen, this is going to be the next big generic thing that a lot of people are going to love. They mentioned, what are the failures? No live service components, right? This is part of the thing. It would have appealed to more people. They have a Tosh. Oh, if we delete Tosh, that this game appeals to more people. If we do certain things, this game is going to appeal to a broader audience. Instead, what they did is they improved the quality of the game for a smaller segment of people. And that was not what they told their investors. And so ultimately they made a great game for, I think, 1.5 million sold, and up to 2.5 if you include the downloads on Game Pass and EA Pro, the free copies or whatever. So
it's still selling. I mean, let's be honest.
Sure.
Eventually make its,
They made their money back, right? This wasn't Concord, right? But even so, what did they tell their people? Hey, this is going to be the next big thing. We're predicting 3 million in sales, right? And so when you only get half of that, huge problem. And yeah, for obvious reasons. We can point out many different issues, not just with the game, but with the way they sold the game, right? And issues that people had. Dragon Age Origins, my number one game of all time, by the way, Dragon Age Origins, debuted to only 1 million copies sold, and it ended up selling 3.22 million after the word of mouth. This one started off real fast, number one concurrent player spot for a week, number one sales for like a day, topped Black Ops 6. You couldn't even believe it, right? Like that first weekend. I think Grums even hilariously stepped on his own foot on this because he was like, look at, it was only 6th place in sales for October. Well, it came out October 31st, Mr. Grums. Like, what a goof, right?
Cody, but here's my take on that is they could have had a AAA game and AAA sales.
Yep.
The problem, I think, is their employees don't look at the bigger picture and they put their mouths in their own foot. Well, I'm not going to curse. Go bleep off. We don't need you. That's a pattern I've seen. Go away. You're a racist bigot. And when I hear that, I'm like, you're right. I will go away. I won't support you. G4. And honestly, I love Frost. She's a cute little lesbian girl. And I say that purposely that way because I'm like, I don't care that she's lesbian. I just threw the adjective. That's what they like to be identified. I like a cute little girl. Then she went on that rant and said, if you don't like it, then don't follow. Okay. And I unsubscribed to every one of their channels because I was subscribing to them out of nostalgia to support their new venture. So I think a lot of the problem here is you have unhinged developers, and both sides have him. There's a very religious guy on I forget his name. He's got about 15,000 followers on X, and I'm like, dude, you're like way out there. I kind of get what you're saying, and you had me here, but you lost me here. Go over the top. And I'm like, you don't market that. You tell your devs, shut the bleep up or you're fired. Why? Well, you're hurting this company, and we can't have that. I think these companies have lost control of the people. We're going to talk about that with Avowed. But give me your thoughts real quick on Polygon and, well, actually, if you can, because I know you write probably for a different, because you do write for a different magazine. But Polygon and Kotaku seem the two biggest quasi magazines because they're online as well. But they seem to be completely woke. In fact, Kotaku supports Sweet and had a symbiotic relationship with Sweet Baby Inc. And to the audience, that's a company that you would hire for millions. It was a grift. It's like, if you don't hire us, we're going to do everything to destroy you. But we're going to tell you how to do woke, But Polygon and Kotaku seem to be taking massive hits. Alyssa Mercante, very infamous in the industry. She's getting ready to go down in flames in a lawsuit that was just asked to be dismissed with legitimate evidence. But these are uber woke publications, uber woke people. It seems like the winds of change are here. And for the audience, this always happens. It's cyclical. But what are your thoughts on that? Is that good or bad? Were they at the extremes and deserve what's happening to them now? Or were they just doing what they felt was right?
I think they're doing the right thing. What happens here is, okay, let's use airlines for an example. 3% of your customer base won't fly your plane if you use female pilots, right? Now we say 3%, that's no big deal, right? But 3% really matters in a line of work. As you've noted, you've done, number crunching and data and sales before. Listen, these places aren't making 3% profits. So you can't give away 3% of your customer base, right? So what you have to do is make a choice. You either go all in with the women, you advertise it, right? This is actually what happened with the airlines. They showed them in commercials. They're like, we have female pilots, get excited about it or don't show up on the plane, right? And then you had the other ones that decided not to have any female pilots because they wanted to keep that 3%, right? So you either advertise to those people and hope to bring more in because there are enough people that would support that you have female pilots to compensate for the people that you're going to lose. The thing about like Kotaku and Polygon and all this is there's what happened is where they were actually suffering even before this latest dilemma is they were too bland because they were trying to please everybody, right? They would write up some review and it's 7 out of 10, right? Because these people over here are going to say it's 10 out of 10. These people are going to say it's 5 out of 10. Let's smash them together. 7 out of 10, right? And so you just got all these reviews that came from no passion, no opinion, right? Trying their best, their blandest to be approved by everybody. And so what they said is, you know what? We're just going to hit the woke thing. These people are going to leave us. Sayonara to them. We want social progressivism. Great. And you know what? The people that there were some people that left, formed their own media studios. They were like, we are conservative media reviewers. We're going to have a conservative. They didn't last very long, but we're going to do a conservative site or whatever. And great. You know what? If that worked out for them, then great. Most of the conservative ones decided to go individual, do YouTube, and those ones are actually rather successul.
Right. They survived, the conservatives. Why didn't they survive?
Why didn't they survive when they formed their own review studio? I honestly could not tell you. It is difficult to start a new studio for the first time, but I can't tell you.
That's the libertarianism in conservatives. We are individuals, and we don't want our own stuff shoved down our throats outside of the fundamentalists. We just tell us about the damn game. Don't preach to us. Conservatives don't want it from either side. That's why a lot of conservative movies fail outside of the religious ones. We want just tell us about the damn game. Just give us a good movie. That's what, and I'm personally basing that on my own beliefs and the people I've surrounded myself. We it's like, that's why we're conservatarians a lot of most. That's why you get the statement, well, you're libertarian, you just don't know it yet. It's not that we're libertarian, we're not. It's just we have libertarian traits of individuality, which is a part of the foundation of conservatism. That's what I hate about politics. Oh no, we're this, we're that. Actually, the average human has all those traits in them. And that's the reason why it's thrived, because a lot of these YouTubers, they just talk about the game. And for the record, Polygon and Kotaku are flailing, and they've been flailing for years. So they haven't, when you sit there and say what you say, that's nice and dandy if there's the market to support it. And as USA has shown, there's not really a market to support a lot of this wokeism. It's being funded through USA, with the grift of how it works with Politico, with Reuters, with AP, all this. Politico, for the audience, they are a political entity, that a media entity that leans left, not hard left. To me, that's a subliminal. They lean left, but they portray themselves as in the middle. They struggle to make payroll the day that 8 million was sapped. All those 8 million, they made payroll. They'll continue to exist, but you're taking a risk, and that's what I'm talking about. These magazines have a responsibility to these same ignorant employees who want to go off the rails. It's like Alyssa Mercante is, and to the audience, she's a big name in the woke side. And I'm not saying woke at a hate. That's just how I describe it. You have your right side, and that's why you'll hear me say fundamentalist. When I say fundamentalist, I'm talking about the extreme religious right. She still hasn't gotten a job for all the hoopla. I assume Sweet Baby Inc. would scoop her up, because she's so toxic. She's so out there. She's a lawsuit waiting to happen for a company. And I kind of think that's what Kotaku saw. And I don't know how her departure, I believe she saw the writing on the wall. I'm resigning, I'm moving on, because she's so toxic. So I think there's a lot of danger in that. Same thing with that's why these conservative sites, I don't want you to preach conservatism to me. I just want to be entertained. Real quick, Hodey, some names here. Grums, what are your thoughts on Grums? And for the audience, Grums was executive, helped build and give us the game called Warcraft that is legendary, that will never be forgotten. And he's done other games. So he's a well-known entity. It's obvious he's a conservative in terms of what he says his thoughts. But Hodey, I saw him from like 18 months. I'm speculating. I can't remember, but like 1 to 2 years ago, 18 months at least, maybe 18, like at 10,000. He's like at close to 300,000 followers now. Your thoughts on him?
Conservative grifter. He certainly, if you just scroll through his account, you will see a lot of fact checks that he fails. And a lot of people would say like, oh, that's because the liberals have control of like fact checking. But I mean, he legitimately, for Veilguard, he first day it came out was like, oh, what a flop, terrible flop this is. Oh, look at this picture. And he shared this picture, which said, oh, it's requiring everybody to use, to say that it's a return to form. And like, there's this picture. And it was fake, right? Like, it's just, he's a fake news guy. But he is very partisan. So he's done exactly what I would expect people to do. If you have a conservative bent and you demand conservatism from your games, and you want to not just root for your games, but against liberal or woke games, he's a fantastic reviewer for those kind of people.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to push back on that. I love Grums, but you're right. Yeah. He's been wrong. But what the thing I like about Grums is he'll admit when he's wrong. Up, I was wrong or missed that at times. Maybe not every time. I have seen him do that. I never see the woke do that. That said, he was right on Dragon Age Veilguard. I crunched the numbers. They didn't hit the numbers and they lied. #1 best-selling game. It's this, it's that. It was marketing. I understand marketing. That's my domain. But you're right. Grums is not always right, but I will give him the credit. He'll come at times. I don't want to say I don't follow him every day. It's just I do follow him on my timeline. Alyssa Mercante. Let's go to somebody, an influencer, because she's a very powerful influencer on the left. Your thoughts on her? Are you aware of who she is?
I don't have many thoughts on her. I remember when she got laid off by Kotaku just a few months ago. But yeah, I mean, she's currently an international graduate, young and up and comer. I actually don't follow her. So I would be remiss to describe too much about her.
Well, I can't follow her, Hodey. Yeah. I made one comment about her. She blocked me.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. She's also, and I'm not downing women on OnlyFans, but that's one of her claims to fame is OnlyFans. So she's maybe an international, but she's not able to make money. So she went to OnlyFans. She's very preachy in my eyes and a double standard. Do as I say, not as I do. But she's a very powerful force. She's lost a lot of her gravitas. And just for the record to the audience, we don't know what happened at Kotaku, whether she was fired, resigned. We know she's not there. And that just seemed to go, you know. Do you know who Vera Dark is? She's an up-and-comer. She got into...
You put her in the notes, and so I looked her up as soon as I saw it. Yeah,
he got into a tiff with David Jaffe, I don't know if he's co-creator or if he created God of War, the big hit for Sony. And what I found ironic about that, he attacked her in a way that they always accuse the conservatives. So you're only there because of your looks, because of this, because of that. And I'm like, that's what you guys accuse our side of always saying. That's why I always say it's human nature. Your thoughts on her?
Yeah. Again, I had to look all this up when I got the notes. This is not somebody who is on my radar. In fact, what I noted about a lot of the people that you listed in the notes is they tend to fight with each other or with other influencers. And so this is when we get from reviewing to team sports, right? Like, and we kind of want somebody who's on our side, who's willing to mix it up with those other people. We don't want just our games to be good. We want other people's games to be bad. And this is kind of where like Vera Dark falls into, is certainly like she has a rooting side, right? Like, she loves it when the games that she likes are good, and she's upset when the other side has games as well. And it's none of these influencers are really my cup of tea, including, and I will say to your point, I don't think this is just a conservative thing or liberal thing. Obviously, I'm a lot more socially progressive than you are, but you don't have a right to be a jerk about your beliefs, no matter what your beliefs are.
Right. We're on the same page socially. Yeah. It's how you view it and its impact on society and how people push it. My issue isn't that you're transgender or gay. God bless you. You're gonna have to answer for whatever we all are, whether we're conservative or progressives. My issue is I don't need you shoving that down my freaking 6-year-old kids' throats. That's my job.
Sure.
That's my issue. Now, I will defend all these people.
What if you're straight? Is that shoving it down your throat, though? Right? Like all the straight relationships in video games? Is that shoving it down your kid's throat?
Human nature. We are put here to reproduce.
So they're normal.
Yeah, it is a norm. See, that's just it. A man on a man is not a norm, but I accept it. We're all wired differently. Why do I say heterosexual relationship is the norm? Because that's how you reproduce. You know, that's how you reproduce. A man. That's been since the dawn of civilization. The man and the woman. You know. Now, there's always been acceptance in certain cultures of man on man. And the Romans used to take a boy with them to war. That's why I'm open. I'm like, hey, we're all wired differently. We all do things differently. But that's normal. See, whether you like it or not, that's the norm biologically. You know?
You know what else is the norm biologically? Being Asian. 60% of people on Earth are Asian, right? 60% of people on Earth are Asian.
My family, yes.
Right. So what if in video gaming, if every time there's non-Asian characters, are they shoving that down our throats? I'm going to have to explain the skin color to my kid, right? Like, that's not normal.
Homophily is, don't you? You understand homophily. Homophily is sociology 101. It's we all like to be surrounded by our own kind. Sure. However, we're a diverse nation. We've accepted. You're always going to see people evolve, Holy. When the nation started, it was all whites. Blacks were slaves. There weren't any Asians here. They were there, or the small amount. They were the oddity. But you evolve as a nation, and the acceptance begins. You know, that's why I tell people you don't have to shove this down our throats. Eventually, culturally, will evolve. When you shove it down the throat, that doesn't grow the country. It divides the country and creates hate. It creates hate. You know, when you oppress Black America, those 60 sit-ins, that was a natural part of evolution, meaning that was going to happen. You can only push hate for so long before the other side rebels. And that's what you're seeing with the pushing the transgenderism. And it's not even gay people will tell you, yeah, those transgenders have co-opted our rights. And the Blacks will tell you, yeah, those gays in the 80s and the 90s, when gays, yeah, those gays have co-opted our rights. I'm talking about the civil rights, you know? But it's a progressive. I'm not saying I accept it. I am saying I accept human nature. We are all wired differently. You know, right. As a species, we reproduce. That's what makes a man and a woman the norm. You know, are there exceptions? Yes. Does that mean I don't accept what's not the norm? No. But it's like Hollywood. I will never accept a 90-pound woman taking out a 300-pound man. Why? There are ramifications in human society in the real world with a 90-pound woman in her household having to deal with a 200-pound drunk guy thinking she's going to take him out. No, you're not. You're just going to go into a battered women shelter. You know, so I look at all of life and how it works, and I kind of look at it how it affects us directly as human beings. And there's a lot of good or bad. I don't mind having a gay storyline. I don't need to sit there and see Pride Month and shoving it down my throats. I just skip over it. And the reason I say this, I'm Latino. I don't agree with Latino month. I don't agree with Black month. We're all Americans. All those months all they do is divide us. You know, but in trying to help the minority, we're creating more division and more hate. Why? Look at being white. Now you're white and evil. It got so bad, Hodey. You were accused of having a gene in you that naturally created the white hate supremacy. That's bunk. That's like in the 1800s, white people. Oh, Africans are inferior because they don't have the brain capacity. It's just politics. And so I will push back. To me, there's no pushback. It's just like I'm right on that. Science proves me right. If all we had was a gay population, we would cease to exist eventually. You know, because you can't sit there and make love having anal sex. And I apologize to the audience. You're not going to reproduce. You know, so yes, that is the norm. Yes, that should shape our society. But are there different people? Yes. Do they have a role in storylines? Yes. Should they trump the man and woman? No, in my opinion. And that has nothing to do with me, but human nature, science, etc.
I'm not asking that anybody trumps anybody. I just wanted people to be able to tell their stories that they want to tell. You know, that's all I'm asking.
I say, keep the transgender story in Dragon Age, but don't allow your devs to co-opt the marketing because that's what caused it to fail. I was upset that what upsets me more now, Hodey, is because of the wokeism, the activism, we're not going to see a Dragon Age for 10 years or more. Why? In 10 years, they may pull it out. Hey, what about Dragon Age? This one took 8 years to get to us. Sure. But now with theocracy, with the fact they spend a couple 100, 200, 300 million, we're never going to see. In fact, Dragon Age was so bad in terms of sales they said we're done. This last final update, no more Dragon Age. You know why? And in defense of Dragon Age, I don't think EA really cared for that IP from the get go.
No,
okay,
it's not one of their bigger ones for sure.
Yes.
They spent between 150 and 200 million. They got back 220 plus million so far. Obviously, they can do a lot better than that on Madden, right?
Well,
like,
it's not they got back. You see, gaming is I don't know what their rule is, but when I sold my company, there's a rule. There's a formula used to the true value. In Hollywood, there's a rule of 3. You got to make 3 times the cost of the movie to break even because of the marketing, the production, the split between theaters and realtors. Like, for example, in China, Hollywood only gets 25 cents off the dollar back in their movies. So there's and same thing with gaming. There's marketing. There's all that. And I don't know what the rule is in gaming in terms of if a game costs 200, how much do they have to make back? Because it's not 200. Because there's other costs involved. So Dragon Age, and I actually have figured some of those numbers out when I do my research. I don't figure out what the formula, just all the research experts, analysts say they have to make back this much. It's like, that's why Star Wars Outlaw. These games will eventually make their money back, but it may take years. Like Led Zeppelin. I'm a big 70s classic rocker.
70s, 80s rock is my favorite.
They're still making money because of time, but there's a window where they have to make a certain amount to determine the future of that band, the IP of that movie or game. Anyway, I did have a final name here. The hot seat. There was a final name I had here, and I can't remember what it was, and I apologize to the audience. Oh, Smash JT. He's an up-and-comer. Had you heard of him prior to...
No, he's another one I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, which is Smash JT. And here's the thing, I'm going to defend the influencers. These influencers, every one of them, including Kearns, nobody knew his politics until the woke activism was pushing us and calling us racist. And that's when Grums came and Mark Kern came out of the closet, so to say. So I will defend every one of these influencers because we conservatives, we'll take a mugging, we'll take a beating, but eventually we go enough. With Vara Dark, with Mark Grums, with Smash JT, that's what happened to them. They got tired of the Alyssa Mercantes. They got tired of the gaming magazines crapping on conservatives. So to push back on you, we're a product of being beaten and maligned until we finally said enough. Hodey, I helped commercialize and pioneer the fantasy sports industry. When I came out of the closet, so to say, I lost most of I'm down to a handful of people who will sit there and return my calls. And I helped give some of these people their 6-figure jobs they now have. So there's always a risk. That's why most people don't come out of the closet, so to say. But I applaud these people for pushing back because I just want a happy medium. Believe it or not, I want what you want. Let's have the best of both worlds because we are a nation of first settlers. We're not immigrants. First settlers, then immigrants help build this nation. But every immigrant class has been crapped on that has come here, and that's been wrong, and we're evolving. There's a natural progression to things, and I'm like, you have to let that take place because if you don't, you're going to create tribalism, you're going to create hate, and if America falls, the rest of the world will follow. Did you know it came out today? Europe has Home Depot has a greater value than all the entrepreneurial companies that have been built in Europe over the last 50 years. The point being is Europe has not created much of anything. It's been other worlds who need to survive. The Russian who created what's that one social platform, Telegram. Americans who created WhatsApp. Who created Instagram. These are creative entrepreneurs who weren't full of riches, and they did it because they saw the dream, and then they saw the financial opportunity. When you're living in a system that doesn't promote or push that, you get Europe. You get the fall of a freaking continent. And I see that happening here. All right. So, Hodey, I'd love to have you on back in just the event. I want to talk about Avowed. Are you up to that? Okay. All right.
Oh, I played it through. Yep. I'm very up to date on Avowed.
If Hodey's willing, what we'll do is after the podcast is over, we'll hop on and we'll just do an Avowed clip.
Oh, okay. Are you playing right now?
No. I don't. Again, Hodey, I want to play games, but
okay.
I can't. I am working 80 hours a week right now.
Yeah.
get this Grumblings media going. And I say that only because I miss playing games. Games to me are an escape. I just want to be entertained. I want to be the hero. I want to play the role of the hero. To say I'm your classic old waspish mentality, for lack of a better word, but it's actually a big Latino mentality. The machismo. Here comes a strong hero, gonna save the beautiful damsel in distress. Now, State of Decay isn't that quite set, but it's a complete escape. I mean, zombies. Let's be honest. It's an escape, you know. But that said, I want to move over to what I called the rude rundown. These aren't heavy discussions, Hodey. These are quick hits. We can have a few words back and forth.
I can give you zaps. Yep, you got it.
Yeah, because so much is happening, I created this section, and I call it the rude rundown. Where's it at? Let me find it. Here. Here we go. Okay. So to the audience, the rude rundown is our lightning round where the question is asked, and the panelist, in this case, Hodey, he gives his point of view, and then we move on. Now, if we completely disagree, I, as a host, will go, hey, kind of give me a little bit more so the audience and we know exactly what you're saying. So the first one is, I'm not sure if you're keeping up with this, but this is massive news in Hollywood and everybody who follows Perez Hilton and other influencers. And that is Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni. Blake Lively is begging for protection while still stirring the pot. So actress Blake Lively has petitioned a judge. She did this last week for an enhanced protective order against her It Ends With Us co-star Justin Baldoni, and she's citing an escalation in harassment following their ongoing legal dispute. This is her side, what she's saying. Your thoughts on her filing this? She's asking for even greater protection than what the courts have given her, and they have given her protection. Your thoughts?
Sure, why not? Give her protection if she wants it. As far as the whole dispute goes, this is one I'm looking forward to seeing become public. Leaks from each of them have made them both seem like creeps and like people I don't want much to do with. It ended up with the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation that they were both awful. And so it was just one of those that Hollywood's a pretty negative culture. I am not going to take a side when it's like an F-. If I'm arguing who the F and who the D- is, I'm not passionate enough about either side to care which one is better. They both seem, unfortunately, like things have been pretty bad and their behavior's been unacceptable. And, if it comes out in court that one of them is really head and shoulders above the other one and really tried to do the right things, great. But so far on the leaks we have so far, yuck. That's all I've got.
My take's a little bit different. I loathe the Me Too movement because it became political. It became just believe whatever she says. My take is everybody has an equal right to fair justice, to fair, and the Me Too kind of destroyed that. Many men were accused and they were just, their careers destroyed. That's what Blake Lively tried to do here with a calculated hit piece. There are stakes involved in this. It Ends With Us was a massive hit, unforeseen by anybody. There is a sequel book to it. Justin Baldoni holds the rights. I believe Blake Lively tried this. She co-opted the movie. That's come out. There has been no leaks from the Baldoni side. He's posted all his stuff on the website. And that's why Blake Lively's so angry, because there are no leaks from his side. His lawyer is Brian Friedman. He's like a Goliath in the world of Hollywood. And she's asking for greater protection that she already has. And Baldoni himself has had death threats. They want to clamp down everything that Baldoni is making public because it's not helping her cause. I could be wrong. That's why I'm looking forward to this trial, because once this trial comes out, Hodey, then everything has to come out in the court, meaning these women she's mentioned that are her allies that have gone through things against Baldoni as well. She's got to produce them. She's has an incredibly adept legal team, but it's she lost the momentum. She lost the public war, and it's affecting her. And the worst victim in all this is Ryan Reynolds, who everybody loves, who part of his true nature is starting to come out. So his own career. So I agree with you on the surface, but after I dug down, I'm like, yeah, I don't like Justin Baldoni at all because of what you said with Hollywood, but I gotta side with him on this one. But I could be wrong. That's what makes this so. I look at it from, what's that Michael Jackson meme? the popcorn. You know?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to see his leaks, just search Justin Baldoni leaks. He's got a whole website with his evidence. So
yeah, he's got his
We're
whole
checking
website
it.
with evidence, you know. So
Yeah.
and that's why Lively doesn't like this, because she was playing the nuance game. She would say something. For example, she came out and said, "Well, he's showing me porn." You know, it turned out it was a video of one of the producers, Baldoni's partner, of his wife giving live birth. You know, and it dealt with the movie, I guess, some way, and it wasn't as Lively claimed. She said there was an issue with, you know, him barging into her trailer while she's breastfeeding. The text came out, "Oh, I'm just breastfeeding. Come on in." You know, so that's, see, to me, once I saw those things, I'm like, you're being manipulated. Because I was on Team Lively when I'm like, dude, you can't be doing that stuff. That's so wrong. Then I saw the evidence. So again, I could be wrong, but she's lost the megaphone, and that's her issue here
Sure.
on that. But I'm with you. Hollywood's all bad. We're seeing this ugliness come out to the forefront, and it's terrible. I know, people. But I just kind of look at it as entertainment, you know, the gossip. We all love gossip, whether we admit it or not. So I'm going to do this. Okay. Go woke, go broke. Greg Gutfeld's ratings spanked the late night libs. Look, Hodey, there's no denying Jimmy Fallon. Stephen Colbert is the worst of them all. Oh, Kimmel. No. Him and Kimmel are the worst of them all. Jimmy Kimmel actually came out in an interview and said, "I don't care about my ratings. I care about hating on Trump." You know, when I saw that, I'm like, "How do you still have a job?" Well, Disney, ABC, they were in his boat. The tides of wind are changing. But Stephen Colbert averages about 2.9 million, and it's trending downward. And it's true, his numbers over the years have slowly been diminishing. Jimmy Fallon fell off the cliff, 1.3 million. He was at one time the king at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 million when he took over. And ABC Kimmel, 1.3 million. This is what hate does. People just want to laugh. They don't want to hear. If you're going to do politics, crack on both sides. But it's just become a leftist warmonger. Gutfeld, now, in defense of the liberals out there, he's on a conservative network on Fox News, but it shows the power of people flocking to just want to laugh. Because if he watches the opening, he cracks on both Republicans, you know, who we call the rhinos, and leftists. But he brought Donald Trump on, 5 million viewers. Your thoughts on the late night scene in terms of and to Hodey, the final take here is he's on cable. You kind of have to pay for cable. We get the 3 networks for free. So you're going free television to pay television, and he's literally caught up to them. Your thoughts?
Yeah, the thing is and I will give this one to you. When you had your choice of 8 different liberal night comedians, all it takes is one conservative to kind of blow that whole thing up. I think the failure with some of them, like Fallon, is he kind of tries to stay apolitical. And I think we're in a place right now where Americans want politics, as we've been talking about these influencers, right? People want a political opinion. I don't want somebody who doesn't have an opinion anymore, right? Like from my comedy. And so, yeah, number 1 is like Saturday Night Live. They'll bash both sides. Number 2 is John Oliver. He's established. That makes sense. Number 3 I'm looking at is Venture Bros. Like, you know, it's interesting when you get into the late night comedy, but Daily Show is now very high again. Obviously, Jonathan Stewart does a better job bashing both sides than Trevor Noah did, and it's good to have him back there. And so I think people either want you to talk about it and bash both sides, or they want something that's partisan to them. Really, at the moment, I can't think of another conservative late night host. The closest I can get is Bill Maher, who's sitting at number 12.
There is no conservative.
But he's not really conservative, right? Like he is like has an occasional conservative leaning. But yeah, like it doesn't surprise me at all to see Gutfeld coming in at number 28. Conservatives don't have a lot of options. I am sure he will go even higher.
Right, and to fill you in on Fallon, he was like that. Then the Donald Trump interview changed it. He was literally almost canceled, you know. And once from the Donald Trump interview forward, he's gone full-blown leftist. He's a bit smarter in how he puts it. It's full-blown leftist. Conservatives who were still watching the show caught on to that, and they left in droves, you know, and that's why he's down to 1.3 million. And he's not even on 5 nights a week anymore. That's how bad it's got. Kimmel's contract is up this year. Colbert has 1 more year. Fallon, I think, has 3 years. I think you'll eventually see Fallon bought out. I don't think they're going to renew Kimmel. The ratings are the worst they've ever been. I think you're going to see Nightline go to an hour again. And Kober, they're paying him way too much money for the ratings. CBS, really, they're in a lawsuit with Trump, and Trump, somebody just settled out. MSNBC just paid a doctor $30 million because they tried to cancel him by lying about him. And he took him to court, and they just settled $30 million. CNN just paid out. They lost $5 million in the first phase. Then they were going to I'm drawing a blank. What's the term? Where you can find them. The jury can give even more money. God, I feel like an idiot. But they settled out of court. I feel like an idiot because I've done a couple of reports on that. But the trial phase, they lost $5 million was awarded to the individual. Then there came the next phase was how much more in punitive damages. That's it, punitive damages. A jury foreman said, well, they're kind of lucky they settled out. We were looking at in excess of $100 million for them to pay the guy to send a message. So they're losing left and right. So I do see Kober and Kimmel coming to an end, and I do see eventually Fallon either being bought out because of that. So there is truth. You go woke, you go broke. You don't remember Hodey, and I was a small child, but CBS used to have new shows on after 11:30. And my favorite, and it's a cult favorite today, is Kolchak, Night Stalker. It was a cheesy little show that the X-Files, that was the foundation for the creation of the X-Files by the X-Files creator. That show was. So I'm like, bring Kolchak back.
Yeah. Just one last tidbit before we move on. While Gutfeld might be like 28th based on like downloaded and watched, like people who are watching streaming services, Gutfeld is actually number 1 among live viewers. So for people who actually are watching the TV live as it goes down, which makes sense for the Fox audience, but yeah, Gutfeld's actually number 1.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You bring up a good point with the pop culture. The thing with like Jon Stewart going back, he's not having the same impact as before he left. He's getting the numbers on cable, but we're in a world now where it also extends to online, and you're not seeing him trend his clips and they used to always trend. So I always try to tell people that it's a twofold. You can have the numbers, but how much impact is like Yellowstone? Its first 3 or 4 seasons, it was the water cooler talk is a good analogy. It no longer had the water cooler talk its final season because of all the drama, 2 years between the seasons, then 1 year between the first half of the final season and the second half. Jon Stewart is missing the water cooler talk. And I'm not saying this to knock Jon Stewart, but that's when you're looking at the bigger picture and the impact, that's what you have. And I think that's a result of Trevor Noah and how bad he was. And what irked me? Like, you know what, America, why are you hiring a black South African? If you're going to go the black route, hire a black American who's funny. Why did you do this? To me, or it's like when they hired Kimmel, then Colbert and Fallon, all 3 networks were like, we don't have enough black Americans in high positions of visibility in Hollywood. Then all 3 of them hired 3 white guys. I'm like, that's one issue I have with leftists. You don't practice what you preach. Because I'm like, man, go hire a Dave Chappelle type. Make us laugh. Because Jon Stewart would make us laugh. I mean, sure. I didn't watch him, but when I would watch some of those snippets, I crack up. Like, okay, whether you like him or not, that's funny. All right,
sure. Daily Show is up 84.27% in viewership from last year. Isn't that wild? Like that's something.
Because not many people realize he came back. See, the average American's a little slow. Oh, Jon Stewart's back? You and I, like, you're in gaming. You probably know everything about gaming inside and out. I do it. I have a podcast on culture, as we're doing right now. I have one on sports, and I have one on politics. So I tend to have my thumb on literally everything. But I'm an outlier. I'll tell my wife something. No, I didn't know that. Yeah. So that doesn't surprise me, to be quite honest, because he is making an impact. And another reason he's growing, at times he's middle of the road. When the left went all crazy on Tony Hinch, I forget what his name is, when Trump had the Madison Square Garden event and the guy made the Puerto Rico joke, and I'm Puerto Rican. I'm Panamanian Puerto Rican. So I got what he said. Yeah, that's true. We have landfill issues right now. So that's what he meant. But Jon Stewart defended him. He showed Tony Hinchcliffe or Hinchcombe, something like that. He showed his clip from the Tom Brady roast, and it was hilarious. And he's looking at, am I wrong for thinking this guy's funny? It's because, so that's why he's a little bit better than Bill Maher, but he's way out there too at times. All right. Captain America, brave new flop. No legs to stand on, no wings to soar past the break-even point. So last week I talked about Captain America's. He had a solid opening at 88 million to 100 million. This week it suffered a 68% drop, 28 million, and it aligns closely with the performance of Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and that saw a similar decline in 2023. So the rule of three in Hollywood, it has to make 3 times the money. It had issues with production, which ballooned the cost to make the movie 350 to 375 million. I don't know, Hodey. I didn't look this part up. I don't know, but that sounds to me like one of the most expensive movies Hollywood has ever made. Had issues to do with reshoots. Harrison Ford was a prima donna. A lot of things had to deal with him. So a lot of cost overruns in that movie. It needs to reach $1 billion to break even.
I'm doing some numbers right now, and that's not what I'm pulling up, but I do know it didn't do as well as they wanted it to do.
Oh, no. It costs about 350 to 375 million. Those numbers are sound. The rule of three has been in Hollywood for generations. That's pretty much a standard rule. So if for it to break even, it's going to need to break 1 billion. The media is not talking about this. This is kind of like inside the weeds. I learned that process because I couldn't understand how John Carter of Mars, the Disney movie, lost money when I saw the cost that they said it cost to make it, and I saw the money it made. And so I educated myself on that, and it collapsed. My take last week was like, it started great, but the word of mouth is mediocre. The actor kind of cut his own legs by saying, well, I don't see Captain America as America. Captain America is America. So it's like they did, again, shut up, actor. Promote the movie. Don't give your personal beliefs, because Disney is smartening up. And I think Disney's has a dossier, not like a hit list, but like, yeah, we can't trust this actor, what he's going to say. Sean Penn lost a lot of jobs because before the turn of the century, he was like that. And then he took a company to court because they revoked the movie they hired him to do and said they're doing this because of my political beliefs. And the courts ruled they have that right because you're going to hurt the movie and you're going to diminish sales. That got lost in translation, and that's what's happening. So I think Captain America, and then you had the Red Hulk. They were the Trump comparisons. And I think this was a self-inflicted, your death by 1,000 paper cuts. Now, could it make its money back? No, but according to the numbers in the formula, it's going to look at about 300 to 400 million, which you would go, man, that's a lot of money. And it's more than what it costs to make, but you don't put that much risk into a movie and not make back the profit. Like a movie you're probably familiar with or saga because of the games, Star Wars. The final one made over $1 billion, but they were expecting 2 to 3 billion, and it pretty much broke even. That's not what you want out of a Star Wars franchise. So there's different levels of expectations, and this one's falling flat. That's my take on it. Sam Wilson's cap is grounded. Less soaring eagle, more clip pigeon. This one's not running the race. It's crawling to the finish line, and Marvel's wallet's feeling the pinch. You have the floor, my friend.
Sure. I think that it's doing a lot like what other Phase 5 movies have done for the MCU, which is not really great. I think, unfortunately, people are about Marveled out. I think the hype is kind of over. And I understand why. You had a lot of big budget, big name actors. You combine them all. They've slowly fallen off. And having like here's a temporary villain in Harrison Ford or whatever, maybe that'll be exciting for you, isn't really enough to bring people back in. I actually agree with you because people are talking about how, it's actually on pace to make as much as like Venom and Ant-Man and Quantumania and all that. But I think we're going to see a bigger fall off for that because I think unlike those, as you mentioned, word of mouth is huge, right? I win it. It was a lot of fun. It was really exciting. Go ahead and go see it yourself, right? Like that. I don't think that's going to happen for this one. It just wasn't the thrill that people wanted it to be. I don't It's been political. I mean, the MCU had no problem taking on politics. I have no problem with them making a movie that's political. The issue is when you make it political, as we talked about already, you're snipping your audience down, right? You're snipping the number of people who are going to appreciate that. So they're making it really good for more people, or for a smaller. They're making it really good for a smaller group of people, and that's not, unfortunately, like you said, with the investments they have in there, it's probably not something they want to do.
You know, Hodey, it's like, I'm like, make your movie that way. I'm not going to watch it, and that's my American God-given choice. You know,
exactly.
Yep. Mad at that. Big John, I'm like, yeah, he was like praising De Niro's movie on Netflix or series.
Oh, sure.
Series. I said, I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to support De Niro. He goes, you're missing out on some good movies. And I didn't push back, but I'm not. You know why? I watch 60% of my library right now is Hindu movies, you know, Telugu movies, Bollywood to use.
Indian action movies are amazing. By the way.
East Asian movies. I just got through watching a couple of I don't know what they call it, Swedish, Finnish. Those I don't know what the name is for those movies. Over the last 10 years, I've expanded my worldwide watching. So I'm like, I'm not missing anything. And in fact, I'm expanding my horizon by seeing how many great movies other countries. The downside is I watch them alone a lot because my wife wants the sub, what's it called, subbing, when they talk English.
The subtitles?
Yes, I like the subtitles. I like to listen to their own language because you get the emotion of the scene from the tone of the language. My wife does not like that. She likes the when they sub in the English, and it just sounds too cool. But it's like, that's the risk you take in gaming and movies and ever. You want to send a message out, and that's good or bad. So if a woke person doesn't want to go see a movie because it's too religious-based themes, that's your choice. I get it. That's what, again, coming from Panama, being Panamanian Puerto Rican, that's what I love about America. There's no dictator saying with only one message. There's no dictator saying you're going to hate these people, do this people. It's America. All right, let's close it out with what we've been talking about a lot. You know, LGBTQ politics and gaming and movies, same-sex romance, and woke bastards shoving it down kids' throats. Source: Game Rant. Okay, same-sex marriage in Assassin's Creed Shadows. The Game Rant article spills the beans that Ubisoft's gone full woke, confirming same-sex romance options in Assassin's Creed Shadows. Your thoughts on that?
If a gay marriage is woke to you, then yes, don't play the game. There you go.
I agree. I'm like, if you make it optional, that's fine. And I think what Ubisoft did. The problem is the Game Rant article, not the person writing it, but that's what became the article, not the game. You see what I'm saying? How the political activist battle becomes front and center, not the game. So my understanding is on Assassin's Creed Shadows, a little bit of speculation. The game was polished, ready to go in October. The sales of Star Wars Outlaws made them they're like, we can't afford another flop here. They pulled the game. I think they were cleaning it up. Yasuka now can be played or not played as a main protagonist. Before they pulled it back, there were missions that were set for him and missions set for the little female ninja, you know? So I think this is probably an optional storyline, but it's front and center. So the divisiveness continues. Meaning, how about focusing on the game, the experience of the game? And I'm not blaming Game Rant, but that's where activism has pushed us. So now most people are going to read that, go, screw this, and they're not going to give a game the chance. Again, self-inflicted wounds here, you know, with how you choose to market your game, you know? Because if I'm Ubisoft, I'm saying, hey, you can write that. I get it. But why not write about the game? This, that. Let's bring you in. Give you 3 hours of gameplay here. See what you get. Give something that expands more. And I'm not playing Game Rant because they're all doing this. But all they're doing is alienating the conservatives. Because conservatives, you know, I always jokingly say, yeah, you can have the liberals in the support, but it's the conservatives buying your product. We liberals always want everything free. When I was a liberal, you know, as a conservative, I realized, hey, and I'm being facetious when I say that. But don't create self-inflicted wounds. I think we're both right. Hey, they want to do that. That's a right. That's what makes America great. But the response is where the true battle lays in survivability. can Ubisoft survive this, or will they be forced to sell because they've had 5 or 6 games that have flopped? And some people attribute it to wokeism. Some people attribute it to just bad gaming. But the point is, it's all formulaic, and Ubisoft is not suffering. I'll give you the last word, even though you already spoke on that.
Oh, it's all right. I mean, it's specific to this game. When we talk about something that has controversy, is it activism? At this point, just having a gay option is activism, right? Like, and it's just going to be that way. Ultimately, that's the era that we live in right now. We're very divided as a country. We've never been this divided before. I'm sure you remember eras where it wasn't a big deal to get your people confirmed, and when you were elected president, and Democrats and Republicans gave each other whatever they wanted all the time. And we're just not there anymore. As people, we're not uniting. We're not communities anymore. And we want to see that fight, right? Like there was a study when social media came around, and they found that you were 8 times more likely to interact with things that you hate than things that you love. And so what they did is they leaned into this and made this part of the algorithm to the point where it was 8-1 before, and now it's like 70-1. Right? Like it's not even close. So when we have these article titles or something like that, this is the point, right? I am 70 times more likely to get somebody to click on something because it says like, oh, there's gay marriage, or if I put the term like shoving it down our throats, I'm going to get either the conservatives or the Republican, or the conservatives or the liberals to click on this thing like crazy, because it's controversial, right? And so this is part of the point. We talk about clickbait titles all the time. As an insider, it's just something we got to do. If we want social media to promote it, or even if we want Google to promote it in the search results, you've got to have some spice. All the influencers you're mentioning. I went ahead before our show today and looked at the top individual influencers out there, and all of them are hardcore, either left or right. There's no middles, right? Like there's nobody in the middle anymore. And that's by design, right? Like we don't want somebody in the middle. I don't, personally.
By design. Oh yes, no, you're right. It is by design from this perspective. We needed to have the battle on gay, how gays were treated in this country. But as a former liberal, one thing I started to notice is we started to shove our beliefs down. We started to sit there and say, no, this isn't America where everybody can have an opinion. This is America where your opinion is going to be my opinion, or I'm going to cancel you. I saw that back in the 80s. That's what started my trend towards conservatism. I was a typical liberal, wanted to save the world. But then when they started to play the skin color, I said, I'm out. Why? My grandmother, I say this all the time to prove a point. My grandmother was called the N-word in the States. My cousins are your traditional brown. You look at me, the Spaniard gene predominated me from the Puerto Rican side. And my point is my whole family, we're a freaking mutt family. Who are you to tell me that whites are doing this to blacks? Because I see blacks doing it to whites. When I went to Compton to drop off my friend's car to his uncle said, you will leave this place this way. You will drive this way. They don't know you're Latino. All they're going to see is your white skin. And that's a death sentence in certain parts of Compton. So I see it from both sides. So I see this tribalism, and I saw the hate coming from the left more than I saw conservatives being more tolerant. But the downside to go to what you're saying now, conservatives figured out how to fight back, and that hasn't helped. Big John made a point. Well, it's going to continue. I go, yeah, maybe so, but it's better than us being beaten to death, canceled, having our livelihood taken, and subjugated. We need to have this battle, because my take from Big John's different. Eventually, cooler heads are going to go, hold on, we need to take a step back, because I don't want to get canceled, or I don't want to do it. So this has been a progression. And as a former liberal, I saw it happen. And that's what kind of pushed me towards conservatism. That, and my take is a conservative belief. I want to treat everybody equally. Hodey, if you can produce for Grumblings Media and we ever get the money, I'm going to go to you and say, Hodey, we need to talk. I don't care that you're white. If you were black, Hodey, we need to talk. It's like G and I on our show, we're always cracking on Indians and Hindu movies and Latinos, whether it's 7-Eleven to me swimming over to get to cross the border, because we're having fun. It's a joke. We can do that's America. You get a white and a black, or a white Asian, you can't talk like that. But you get an Indian Latino, the only thing that saves us is because we're Indian Latino. You can't shit on the minority. We're exempt from the rules. And I view that as wrong. Why should whites be the only? Whites have become the only culture you can crap on everything. Yet every other culture is allowed to do what they say whites can't do, and that has nothing to do with racism. It has everything to do with we're America. Let's all live as Americans first. I believe a strong country that's patriotic to its values is what makes us, unifies us. And again, if we're not a strong country, the outside evil forces out there will come and take over. And history has proven me right, and that's what I try to tell people. Oh no, William, we just don't have the right people in charge. Power corrupts, and it corrupts absolutely. I desperately want term limits in Congress. We have it for the presidency, and I can change. I'm an old dog because I don't question it, but I'm like, it's legitimate when libertarians question the nuclear bomb. Why didn't we just get the Japanese hierarchy to go check out one of our bombs as we detonated? Well, William, we only had 2. Well, you used or 3, and we tested one already. I'm like, well, then why did you want to do 2 cities? One was enough. Why? Because they wanted to see the results of the radiation. They were using the Japanese people as experiments at the same time. So I do value that argument to dissuade future genocides like that. But I hate it when they sit there and say, we didn't have to use a bomb. Who are you to be God and jury there? That's a decision we'll never know the answer. But we could have maybe come to your conclusion, but there's a process to it. I truly believe in my heart now, maybe had they shown a bomb on Marshall Island, wherever they did the testing, the Japanese would have gone white flag, but we'll never know. Anyway, with that, Hodey, tell the audience here who you are. And I'm probably do that. We just got right into who you are, where they can find you.
It's better that way. I'd rather people know me by my talk. I'm Hodey Johns. You can find me on Twitter at the Hodeman. I'm on Facebook just under my name, Hodey Johns, Hodey, last name Johns. You find me on the internet, my articles and everything on Game Rant, Dual Shockers, and The Gamer. If you're interested in the video game side of me, I also run the Love First Christians. That's kind of my big shtick right now, is the running a religious group with the Love First Christians, and that's what we do there. That's a free Discord group, so if you're ever interested in any Christ-centric conversation, I'm the guy to talk to there as well.
Outstanding. And Hodey didn't say it, but he's also the co-host of our Libertarian Show podcast, live stream, Free for All, with my good friend and partner, Big John T. Georgopoulos. You can check that out live every Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time, right here on this same channel. And do not forget to like and share this article. We had a lively, robust discussion, and I loved it. You can find this podcast, The Red, White, and Rude, as well as my conservative talk, Fired Up, and my conservative talk, Fired Up California, as well as my points on the board when politics and sports collide. Thank you, Colin Kaepernick. At grumblingsmedia.com, as well as YouTube, Rumble, Apple, Spotify, y Pandora under the handle Grumblings Media. And with that, for Hodey and myself and the Red, White, and Rude, I am William del Pilar, and I bid you adieu.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these 2 boxes.